Welcome everyone to tonight's Water Pollution Control Authority meeting, Wednesday, October 20th, 7 o'clock. We have Joe, Ron, Christian, myself. Unless there's any proposed changes to the agenda that's been posted on the town's website, we'll proceed. Seeing none. Okay, first item is bills and communications, and in front of us are the approval of the September 15th regular meeting minutes. I believe we had a special meeting also, though.
Yeah, they're on the same document.
Yeah. Okay, so modifying that agenda point to breaking that out into the special meeting, followed by the regular meeting. Is there a motion on the special meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting on September 15th, 2021.
Joe, I saw your mouth moving. Were you talking?
Mark, there's one set of minutes. It's one continuous set of minutes. It's not
Okay.
two sets.
Okay.
And
That makes life easier.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ron Drew, just beat you, Christian. All in favor? Mark, Christian, Ron, Joe, in favor. Okay. Let's move on to new business. Discussion and presentation by Christopher Smith on a proposed 65-unit residential building at 15 Unquote Road. Many of you may recall this project that came to us back in December 2020 and a few times before then, when it was a 35-unit project. We're now at 65 units. We have a few documents that were posted on the link when the agenda was posted, and then I saw that there was another document posted today, which I personally haven't had a chance to review. So can the department walk us through what we have, and then we'll open it up to the applicant for further color?
Yeah, I can elaborate on it. There was two documents that were added. Chris Smith asked to have them posted. One was the existing letter that was submitted with the flow calculations, along with the site plan for the project. And a brief outline, I guess, is from Jason Edwards' profile, describing the company and what his background is. So, Chris, I don't know if you want to take over and elaborate more on that.
No, I think that you summarized that, and I understand everybody's well aware and familiar with the Edwards Associates company. So, but I was just hoping to put the profile in. And Mr. Chair, if you would like me to continue, I'll go forward, but I don't want to interrupt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the WPCA, the authority, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Clancy. For the record, my name is Chris Smith. I'm a land use attorney with the law firm of Alter and Pearson, and I appear before you this evening on behalf of the owner applicant, 15 Umpqua Road LLC, requesting confirmation and approval of 9,206 gallons per day sewer capacity to accommodate a 65 dwelling or unit residential community on real property known as 15 Umpqua Road. I'd like to introduce, I see that we have Dr. Lee Forrest on behalf of the owner. He is the owner through the company, the LLC, is with us this evening, as well as Jason Edwards, a licensed surveyor, and Larry Edwards, a licensed professional engineer of J. Edwards and Associates, LLC, whose office prepared the sewer line capacity report with the latest revision date of September 9, 2021, which is Exhibit A to the request letter dated September 14, 2021, that Chris Rogers referenced, that we submitted to the WPCA, care of Chris, who I understand is in transition over to the land use department.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
So just a quick summary, we'll have a brief presentation. I was hoping to provide you with a summary of the conditional approval by the WPCA, as the chair indicated, last December 9, 2020, and the pending request that's before you this evening. And then I believe Larry Edwards will provide you with a summary of the revised sewer line capacity report. Again, it's Exhibit A to our letter request as it pertains to the subject request for confirmation and approval of the proposed capacity. As an overview, last December 9, 2020, my client appeared before you and obtained a conditional approval for a mixed-use development of the subject property that included approximately 9,000 square feet of retail and commercial space and a residential component of, I believe, 36 units. And the minutes of your meeting of December 9, 2020 are part of the record, as Mr. Rogers indicated. And because of the current pandemic-related economic climate, especially relative to the lack of demand for retail and commercial office space that I think we're seeing across the state and elsewhere, certainly I'm seeing it with my clients, and this one in particular, my client, Dr. Forrest, has decided to use his property for a multifamily residential use exclusively without a commercial component. In addition, for the record, I'd like to indicate that it's my understanding the property is currently served by public sanitary sewer, and as I understand, is located in a sewer service area. Now, as you're aware, the WPCA provided a conditional approval subject to certain improvements to the sewer system that included increasing the size of a related transmission line from the existing 8 inches for the line to a proposed new 10 inches, which is indicated in the sewer line capacity report, will almost double the capacity of the existing line, essentially at my client's sole expense. And I note, as indicated in the sewer line capacity report that Mr. Edwards will address shortly, that even with the existing line remaining at 8 inches, the requested 9,206 gallons per day is only 1.6% of the available capacity in the line. And the subject 9,206 gallons per day results in only 81.3% of the available capacity in the existing transmission line being utilized, essentially meaning approximately 20% of the existing line's capacity is not being used and will remain available. So in other words, I respectfully submit that there's more than adequate capacity in the existing transmission line to serve the proposed residential community. I also note that the sewer line capacity report that was submitted to the authority references an 80% guideline that the WPCA uses, that the report references. This report was done, as the chair indicated, there's been a number of iterations of a proposed development of this property. And the report references, quote, the recommended best practices standard of 80%, end of quote. However, for clarification, and it's my understanding that this 80% number it's a guideline utilized by the Fairfield WPCA, and that it's not a regulatory or statutory requirement that's mandated to be met for utilizing the available sanitary sewer in Fairfield. And I may need to be corrected on that, but that's my understanding. I just would like to point that out for the record. And finally, as we'll hear from Mr. Edwards next, there is more than adequate capacity for the proposed 65 dwelling residential community with or without an expansion of the existing transmission line from 8 inches to 10 inches. And that concludes my opening summary remarks of where we think we are at this point in time. And with the permission of the chair, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mr. Edwards, who again will walk you through a summary of the sewer capacity analysis that was submitted to the authority and as part of this request. Thank you.
Okay. Prior to that segue, I'm sure a few of the other commissioners are processing this and wondering the same thing. So to give us proper context as we go to the engineer, are you suggesting that you are backing away from the 10-inch line and saying that you want to use the existing line?
I think that that would be a fair assessment, Mr. Chairman, that we believe there is sufficient capacity in the existing 8-inch line. I understand that there was this conditional approval based on the improvements going to 10 inches. And I would respectfully request that the WPCA consider approving the requested gallonage, 9,206 gallons per day,
Okay.
with either the existing line or with the 10-inch line if the improvements are indeed made.
Okay, so let's segue to the Edwards Company, and I know that we're all wondering what sort of peaking factor is being considered. So why don't we turn it over to is it Jason Edwards?
Larry Edwards,
Edwards,
Thank you.
okay.
professional engineer with J. Edwards Associates. Basically, in our report, we outlined the methodology we used in determining the capacity based on the guideline rates provided by the Town of Fairfield Sewer Department. And those calculations we've done them, as the report will show, I think about half a dozen times or more on different scenarios and so forth as we've gone through this process. The latest that we did was for the current proposal, which will generate an estimated increase of 9,206 gallons per day. And based on that number, we have computed the both the capacity of the existing 8-inch sewer and determined the capacity, and that the proposed increase in gallonage together with what is presently going through the line will generate a total of or will utilize a total of 81.3% of the capacity of that line. We have also included in here what we had discussed prior in prior proposals to you for the expansion to the 10-inch pipe, and with the 10-inch pipe, that the total usage would be approximately, less than 41% of the total capacity of a 10-inch pipe being used. So those two numbers are provided, and we have been consistent with the utilization in terms of the flow rates for the particular units. Again, those flow rates, it's my understanding based on experience that there is a certain amount of factor of safety involved in those numbers, as well as any other calculations that were done in relation to the expansion of the sewer.
And I'm sorry, the peaking factor?
Well, did we include a peaking factor per se? No, but we included your rates include a factor of safety in them over and above what is considered the normal, but that's standard. That's both state and most locals will basically utilize a gallonage per unit or bedroom that is not the existing standard. It's a number that includes a factor of safety involved in it. As far as a peak factor, no, we did not include a peak factor. And again, none of the calculations that have been done previously by us or by any other of the applicants that have come before you have included a peaking factor in their calculations. So
Okay.
that answer is no, we did not include a peak factor.
Yeah, I saw
Larry,
Chris.
Let me just interrupt for 1 second. You did include a peaking factor. It's you used 2.5. I'm looking at the calculation right here. So additional peak flow rate, you used a 2.5 peaking factor.
Oh, okay. Yep. I'm sorry. Yep.
And that was uniform for the other projects as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And
And Chris Rogers, have we ever used anything other than 4?
No, most of the time it's 4. Based on the condensed, the condensed area, the type of pipes. If you remember, Wright Pierce did a peer review on this, and they were in agreement that a peaking factor of 2.5 was conservative, but 4 would be the ultimate number that we normally go with.
Okay.
I think the only other thing that I just wanted to mention in the discussions, there had been some discussions with, I and I'm not sure where exactly they came from to staff, that there was interest in doing some additional monitoring farther down the line, and to determine the capacity of basically the main line that goes down, it's a Reef Road that goes down and eventually down to the sewer. The only problem is the farther down that line, once you get past where we are and into the first like interchange across the street, you have numerous other lines that are coming into that, that 10-inch sewer, the main that goes down Reef Road. So our percentage of our input is going to be less and less and less the farther down that line you go, and the less significant it's going to be in the overall capacity of the line. In other words, if there's a problem, if you go down 2 or 3 intersections more and you introduce 50% or 100% more into the line, then if you start saying that our amount of increase is going to be significant enough to be an impact, then basically your development for any place in Fairfield Center is going to be unavailable in the future also. So because ours is going to be so insignificant as a percentage of the total flows that are going to be at that point. So again, the farther down the trunk line you go, because there's more and more being contributed into the trunk line. And I think that's basically, our, input into this application at this point. I'd be happy to answer any more questions.
Okay, I'm sure we have a few.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Let me see if I can summarize. You're suggesting in no particular order that we use a peaking factor of 2.5 versus 4, that we forego the flow analysis downstream, given the nuances of this project and the proposed bypass that is being considered, and that there's 2 options. There's one flowing into a pipe that runs in front of the property. That's an 8-inch pipe. And the other option is the installation of a new 10-inch pipe behind the project. Is that correct?
It's not behind the project. It would actually be across the post road is where that expansion is going to take place.
Okay. But that comes up Sanford Street, correct?
We come down Sanford into Post Road, and then
So
now it goes up Post Road and then back down Post Road. It makes a loop around, and the 10-inch would be a straight line across the intersection. It's basically what is going to happen.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at the document that was submitted today and toggle between the commissioners to see if they have any questions.
Mark, I have a question. I might as well ask it now. Larry, what was ever decided or what will be decided with the sump pump issue from the building? I know that was a big factor back when you came to the commission last time, that we didn't want the additional flow from the sump pump. Has that been rectified?
If there is going to be, as far as I know, the foundation is going to be designed with no, it'll be a sealed foundation, so there won't be any need for a groundwater sump pump. The only issue that was outstanding that I remember was that we have basically catch basins in the basement parking area, which the DEP requires to have in order to collect the runoff, whatever comes off the cars. Those don't connect into the sanitary. They would normally, if there was flow from there, would go into a sanitary sewer. But we are proposing to make that a sealed tank that would be pumped by a septic pump service and again, that is only going to collect what runoff comes from the cars. There's no drainage down there. This actually gets surface water into it. It's just whatever falls off the cars. And the reason that that is usually treated through the sewer is that there isn't any flow to it. It's just the runoff, and it tends to be a large amount of salt and would be drippings or whatever else would be off the car. And they don't want that to go into the storm drains. So it has to be collected and discharged. Normally would go into the sanitary sewer directly. In this case, we're proposing to have it pumped and discharged as a septic pump would discharge it. I think they do it right off the treatment plant, don't they? Is that generally where they pump? You have designated spots for those facilities, yeah, and that's where they would go.
Okay. Thank you.
Chris,
Joe,
Chris, any place in town where we allow pumping into the sewer system?
No, like a sump pump? No, it's
Yeah.
illegal. No.
Yeah, okay.
okay, well, look, we've had a number of conversations on this. We were not in favor of allowing access to the 8-inch line when there were 35 units. We have 65 units that are being proposed. I guess procedurally, we can put forward a motion for tapping into the 8-inch line, and we can, I see Joe shaking his head, we can,
Procedurally, you cannot do that with this agenda. You've got a discussion and presentation tonight.
yeah. Chris, on our December approval, we noted that we needed flow capacity from Reef Road to Oldfield Road. What's the department's view on that?
We wouldn't know if we have capacity unless they do flow monitoring. So it was recommended or suggested this week when they had reached out. We gave them 2 locations to do additional flow monitoring.
Okay. So for my own edification, I went back on the town policy relative to this. And it was last modified and approved by us when Brian was the interim director of public works. So I guess that's back in 2020. And it reads, any property that increases its development over its existing status, resulting in an increased effluent discharge to the sanitary sewer system, and when such discharge is over and above the existing discharge, the property will be subject to all or part of the following requirements. Flow analysis of the downstream system at 2 locations, 2 half-inch rain events required during a 24-hour period, and improvement to the downstream system if the flow analysis identifies that the proposed development creates an overburden on the sewer system. And then it goes into the calculation of the I&I abatement fees. So that's the policy that we have in front of us. Is there any additional information that the commission would like from the applicant before this comes back to us in the future for a decision? Or the department? Joe?
Well, I'm not sure it's from the applicant. The one thing I want to understand is the peaking factor. I mean, that part of town, we've seen it in the past, has had a lot of flooding. Is the peaking factor that should be used in the calculation 2.5 or 4? Because that seems to be the tipping point as far as an 8-inch pipe versus requiring the applicant to install a 10-inch pipe. Then we have the further complication of downstream. First, I'd like to understand the first part of this.
Are you asking for me or your,
I'm asking, I guess, looking at the screen, Chris Rogers, can you take a shot at it?
Yeah, the normal procedure, standard figure that we use is a peaking factor 4.
Thank you. That seems to be
Um,
the tipping
for-
point for me and in the calculations. Thank you. Okay,
My recommendation was going to be to have them reflow monitor that line, the 8-inch line, come back to us with a proposed figure. We want to see, in the reason being is, and this is my thought, the new condo that just was brought online on Umpqua Road, there's, I believe, 90 units, 91 units.
Autobahn, 98 units, yes.
Yeah, that just came online. Now, I can't guarantee it's 100% filled, but we would have a better idea of what the projected flow is from that project coming through that line. Also, I don't know, I don't have the flow monitoring in front of me, but I don't know when the flow monitoring was done, but Tomlinson Middle School is on that line. And I don't know if that was accounted for because when the flow monitoring was done, they might not have been in school. So it might be pertinent to have this line reflow monitored to account for, during the time that the school is in session, as well as the new condo being online.
Okay, Chris, if I could, then you're also, what about 78 Umpqua Place, those 26 units?
It's not online yet. That's
Right,
being
they're
built
still
right now. So
What
we would
would you
only have,
propose, using the same numbers that were presented tonight?
right,
The flow monitoring that was done in 2019 for that project?
2019 from that project.
Okay,
That's my proposal. I mean,
Hey, Joe, this is Ron.
Ron.
You beat me to the punch on raising your hand, but I look at it like I've heard tonight about going from an 8 to a 10 and back to an 8 in pipe. I've also heard that the peak is, they're doing it on what, 2.5 versus 4. Is that going to set a precedence for us? I mean, we've always said when you do the flow analysis, we use a peak factor for a couple of rainy days type of thing. I want to make sure that we're consistent on how we treat the different projects coming in here.
I believe all the other ones that were done at the same point, the ones that you're just talking about that are coming online, as my understanding, they were all had a 2.5% peak factor also. And that's why we took our model from the same ones that they did. So the 4 peak factor is not been used consistently in this particular analysis of this area.
Should it be?
Okay, we'll check that.
And your own consultant has thought that the 2.5 was adequate. So, I don't know, the 4 is something that's relatively, I haven't heard that since we began this whole process. It's always been 2.5.
Yeah. Let me come at this a different way. And if this were to go forward with a peaking factor of 2.5 and the middle of downtown Fairfield was to discharge sewage into the middle of town, who's gonna be responsible for that?
You're asking me?
I mean, is there any sort of surety or guarantee coming from Edwards or from the applicant to cover us?
No, I mean, it's a public sewer.
Yeah.
I think Chris could probably speak to that better than I could.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. If you can just repeat that, you were inferring there, questioning if there were to be a backup?
Yeah, who's ultimately responsible for the certification that this is going to flow and this is workable and that this is a good idea? Because right now it's kind of a manipulation of numbers.
Well, and I agree with Chris Rogers. I think, this is a municipal issue, and having served on a WPCA myself at one point, I do think that, the issues to me would appear to be, do you have capacity in the line, from a legal standpoint? there's obviously the property is currently served by sewer, so there's a right to sewer. And the question is the additional gallons per day within the available capacity? And I think that that's what we're trying to grapple with. I was not involved, obviously, the last time around. And as Mr. Rogers indicated, and Mr. Edwards, just again, Wright Pierce in their peer review from August 7, 2020, made reference to the 2.5 peaking factor. And I understand you have the peaking factor there. The whole purpose is to provide a conservative number. So when you have those rain events and whatnot, that it can be accommodated in the line. It just seems that there's an 80% guideline or rule or something that's utilized, and this will only bring the capacity to 81. I think it's 81.3% of the available sewer capacity in the 8-inch line, and that seems to be based on a 2.5 factor, which these other applicants that have received approval have utilized. And I don't know, it requires somebody to do an improvement to go to a 10-inch line to double the capacity in a line when essentially 20% is available of the line anyways, to accommodate what effectively is 1.6% of an increase. That's one of the reasons we're here this evening. Obviously, the proposal itself has changed, but we're here again seeking, just confirmation and approval for the gallonage so we can proceed with the other approvals that are required for the site development.
Well, I guess, to me, the 2.5 doesn't seem like that big of an issue. The issue is rounding down. There's a difference between 17.7% or 18.7% and 20%. And so if the recommended best practice is 80, we're not at 80. So if we upsize to the 10-inch line, then the 2.5 versus the 4 doesn't matter. We'll have sufficient capacity regardless. But at a 2.5 safety factor, we don't have 20%.
And authority member Manchese, I don't think that the 80% is best management practices. I'm not aware of, I could be wrong. I'm just not aware of there being a magic number when there's capacity available in a line to say no to somebody. I'm sorry.
I was reading recommended best practices standard of 80% from Larry Edwards' letter in the September 14th.
That was based on the best practices as recommended by your staff. That's where that came from. So I'm not aware of any regulatory or statutory best practices method of 80%. That's something that's been established by your own.
I think it's going to come down to the terminology overburden on the sewer system. So it sounds like we need more data, flow analysis of the downstream system. We need to look into what peaking factors we've used on other projects. We have to account for Tomlinson and the new project being online. And as Joe mentioned, we don't have this as an actionable item in front of us this evening. Are there any additional requests for information from the commission? Joe?
Again, I'm going to bring up discharging into the sewer system via sump pump. That is one of our rules. We do not allow it anywhere, and I would not want to set the precedent on any project, which would leave the commission open to other developments than pointing to this project and saying you've done it before.
We are not proposing it. It's not part of our application process at this point. That was moved in the early phases of the design of the project, and that's been out of the design for
okay,
specifically on this application for sure.
Then I take that back, please. I apologize.
I think we needed to clarify that for you, sir, as well as with the other item with the 80%. That's what I was pointing out in my initial comments, is that phrase was used, I know, by Mr. Edwards in prior reports, which was just carried over to this revised one, which just updated and changed the numbers to accommodate the proposed use. But again, I don't want to do a deep dive into legalese, but I just respectfully suggest that we're not aware of there being a best management practice in the industry where you can't go over 80% of capacity in a sewer system. But we don't have to do a deep dive into that tonight. I think we can follow up with Chris Rogers on this the monitoring issue specifically, and be able to respond more directly to that. I know that Larry Edwards did provide commentary, and I just would respectfully note to the WPCA that we have filed an application. From what I understand, there's not technically a form, but we did file it, and hopefully we can obtain a decision with the additional information that you've requested at your next meeting, which I presume would be in December. But we do thank you for next month, November.
Let me just interrupt there, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure we'll have
I'd
the
like to
full
also-
analysis by the next meeting. I recognize you're saying we're on the clock, and what I'm saying is we need flow analysis. Joe.
I believe when we gave contingency approval, you guys were going to evaluate putting a 10-inch line under the post road as one of the options from Sanford Street. Is that my misunderstanding?
No, it's not, Joe. And I think that history is important, but we also need to recognize that this is a new applicant. So it's kind of all that discussion we had before was for informational purposes only, kind of brought us up the learning curve in terms of what the issues are here. But we have a new applicant in front of us. Is that correct? Or is it the same applicant?
Same applicant, Dr. Lee.
Same applicant, different attorney. Okay.
And a
understood.
different proposal, Mr. Chairman. You're right.
Right,
We'll
different
look into that.
proposal.
I'll look into that. I'm just not aware of that, sir. But we can circle back on that with you.
Okay, well,
I'm
it certainly
taking-
sounds like it wasn't pursued. That's all I was asking.
And I'll look into that. We'll provide you with a response. I don't know the answer to that right now, but I am taking notes. So
Thank you.
I'd be remiss. We have Bill Norton with us tonight, which I'm very grateful. And Bill, in terms of the defining, I think this is going to come down to this definition of creates an overburden on the sewer system. For many of us who are not engineers, how do we get our minds around that? What is an overburden?
I think what we've used in the past is as everyone has said, is that 80% benchmark. Because if we're at the 80% mark, and we all know that sanitary sewers have I&I, that you're using that so that you do not overburden the sewer system, so that you have capacity built in for storm events and any kind of blockage or anything like that occurs within these sewer systems. So I think that's where we've utilized the 80% in the past. And as Chris knows, we've used it in several of our previous requests. And as long as they stayed under that 80%, we didn't think there would be any issues in the sanitary line. Now, obviously on this one, it's a critical intersection within the town. It's a critical area of the town, and we've spoken about this before, of not overburden that sewer, worrying about the garage and flooding of the street and things of that nature. So that's where I think we always come up with that 80% as a definitive point within our agreement to go ahead and approve these projects.
Gotcha. We know that in a rain event, that area in front of the project by the theater has tremendous flooding. Do we know how much, if any, of that gets into the sewer system?
I don't think we have a definitive number on how much I&I enters that specific area. It is one of the higher areas, obviously. Just going back to a couple of those rain events we've had over the last several months, we go from 6-7 MGD to 27 MGD. quickly. So I cannot, pinpoint that that's one of the major areas. We'd have to go back and probably look at the Wright Pierce I&I study to tell us if that's one of the critical areas. I can't remember off the top of my head if that was identified as one of the critical spots.
Donna, is that something you can follow up with? Right, Piers? John Clancy?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
So Wright Pierce, I study that part of town.
sure.
Mark, just a point of clarification, just so I'm clarified as well. The developer would be responsible for the flow monitoring, not the town. I just want them to know that, the town is not going to partake in the flow monitoring. I
Yep.
don't know if
That
was
would be our
interpreted that way.
understanding. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, go ahead.
No, that would be our understanding. I'm
Okay, I
sorry.
just wanted to make sure it was clarified.
No, thank you.
you.
Matt, Christian, Ron, Joe, anything else? Okay.
I mean, just the only thing that 80% number is something that in my history here that we've always used. It would be, I know Chris and Bill referenced other projects that have been impacted by that 80% number. And I would be hesitant to approve anything that goes above that 80% where we've used in the past as that sort of the marker of overburden. And I would hate to set precedent. And even if we, Mr. Smith, I know you said you're only 1.7% above that number, but there has to be a boundary where we say that it's 1% or 0.1%, but that's if that's what we've used in the past is 80%, then I can't imagine the commission changing that and moving forward without that capacity being dealt with. So I don't know, Chris, if we have examples of that, of projects that we've had in the past. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I do know that that's what we've done.
Just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, I mean, obviously with climate change and more significant intensity storms, I mean, that if anything, we should consider making that 80% lower because I'm not suggesting we do that, but I'm just saying if we were going to be setting a new precedent, I would suggest it being a lower threshold versus increasing it because I&I is really when we're going to be experiencing the burden, the overburdens and the sewer overflows and that sort of stuff.
Good point, Matt. Okay. Any further comments, questions? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
We thank you for your time. And is your next meeting will be in November or will it be at the beginning of December?
Yep. So hopefully they get the flow monitoring in and we get a couple storms. Hopefully
not like we've had recently. So.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for your time and have a nice evening.
You as well. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Moving on, we have the October sewer use adjustments. I guess these are the first based on the bills. I know that Mr. Vice Chairman D'Avanzo has gone through these in some detail. I'm going to ask him to run with this. Putting you on the spot, Joe.
Yeah, no problem. I think you need to introduce 149 Pulling Lane.
Yeah, so that's first on the agenda.
Yeah, that's the first item on the agenda. It looks like there was just 1 month where there was a significant increase. So therefore, I would make a motion on 149 Fulling Hill Lane to make that adjustment to a minimum bill of $150. I'm not sure.
Question?
I'm not sure if
First
that's
or
what
second?
they're asking for. John Clancy is on the call. John, that's what they're looking for?
Yeah, that's what he was looking, is
So
Kevin's
that's
not
the
with us.
motion I would make for that particular, each month was well below they only had one significant month, which was December, and it really was 25 times higher than any of the other months. So that was pretty straightforward to me.
There a second? Second.
Okay.
Kevin with us?
Comment?
Yes, hi, can you guys hear me?
Kevin, yeah, Kevin, do you wanna, do you wanna,
Yeah, we had a water leak there at the end of last year. You know, the kids were sledding into it. We didn't realize it. And then I looked at my water bill 2 months later and they were $900 times 2. And as Joe has said, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing. After listening to that, I really appreciate what you guys do after listening to that last conversation. So thank you for that. But yeah, we had a big leak, and I have graphics if you need them. I made a PowerPoint. I'm a cancer researcher, so I do this all day long. PowerPoints and Zooms.
Kevin,
Kevin,
just so you know,
since you're close to the finish line here.
Mr. Chairman, just to explain to Kevin, we used December through April as our months, and unfortunately, December was a significant bump for you. But when I took that out and normalized it, your usage actually came out to 112.6, which would be below the minimum. So therefore, that's why I'm recommending a minimum bill for your usage.
I thank you for that analysis.
Yes, you might get through this without a PowerPoint.
I made it when I saw the bill.
Yeah, I bet. We're your neighbors. Is there a second? Second from Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy your night. Or you're welcome to stay.
No, I've had enough. This is good. I will call in some other day. Good luck.
All right. Next on the agenda, 144 Roberton Crossing. Mr. Quick.
Again, Mr. Chair, if I can make a recommendation, again, we had one month that looked like an outlier, and it was February 2021. And if we adjust that out, and I know Mr. Quick is on the line, so I'll let him speak, but if we adjust that out, that too would become a minimum bill.
Can you hear the Quicks? Hello?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm Lori Quick. So there was a toilet that was leaking in a guest bedroom that was not used, and it wasn't discovered until that month where it was the high usage in February. So we fixed a toilet flap, Tom. It was a toilet flap, and it corrected the problem. So it was just that 1 month in February where the bill spiked, and now it's back down to its normal water usage. That's what happened.
Now, Ms. Quick, I didn't notice, did you go back to Aquarian? They will make a one-time adjustment for you also, if you're interested. That's not part of our issue, but you can go back to them.
Thank you. We actually have a tenant there, and she lives by herself, which is another reason it wasn't noticed, because it was the guest bathroom. So we'll mention that to her with her bill.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion? Please.
I made the motion to make this a minimum bill of $150.
Is there a second? Christian, second. Comments, questions?
I have one question. So I did pay the $546 because that's what was advised to me from the tax collector, and I guess I didn't know if we'd get on this particular meeting. So how do I call the tax collector about that? Like, how does the process work?
Yeah, I spoke with the tax collector about this. you can either request a credit towards this year's bill and it would roll over towards next year, or you can get the money reimbursed. It takes about 3 weeks to get the paperwork in place and get your refund. So you have either one of the two options. But I was aware that you did pay the bill already, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the information.
Yeah.
And I would like to thank you on the enlightenment of sewer management with site development, because I have no idea.
Yeah.
It was interesting, actually, But
Yeah,
thank you.
it's one of the more complex ones, that's for
Very.
sure. Yeah.
Civil engineering.
Yeah. Numbers
Thank
matter.
you.
Okay. Oh, did we vote on that? All in
We
favor?
did not.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay.
Well,
You're all
good luck on
set.
the rest of your meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Okay, third item, 141 Ardmore Street.
Right. And again, Mr. Chairman, if I still am running with the ball, this happens to be a cement company.
Oh,
And we've made this adjustment every year. It's my understanding that the water does not wind up in the sewer system. It winds up in the cement. So I would recommend and make a motion to adjust this bill to the equivalent of what it's been on average over the last 5 years, which I have a feeling is a minimum, which is $150.
okay. So the motion, 150 minimum fee. Is there a second? Second from Matt. Comments, questions? All in favor? Looks to be unanimous. While we're on this point, John and Chris, I can only imagine how busy you guys have been on these adjustments. I understand Carol has left.
Yeah.
I know Chris is technically in another department. A lot of
John-
work being done by
John and the department staff have been fielding most of the questions, so kudos to John, just coming on board, so.
Thank you, John. And Mr. Norton, thank you for being here this evening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are you, in the state of Connecticut or the state of New York?
No, I'm in the state of New York,
All right.
but I figured if there was any questions that went on while I was there over the last month, I'd be here to handle.
Yeah. And
Thank you,
that's
Bill.
remarkable. Yeah, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, we also had attached to the documentation the list of adjustments that were made by the staff.
Yeah.
And I have two questions for two of those line items, which I wouldn't mind getting answered. I don't know, I guess it's not on the agenda, but it's in the documentation for October sewer use adjustments, which is on the agenda.
Yeah.
It's not in detail on the agenda.
Please.
So just 1494 Fairfield Beach Road, there was an adjustment, and the explanation of the adjustment was a meter was removed. And at least the preliminary discussion I had with Chris and John was that there was, I guess, 2 residents on the property that were demolished. And my question is, the bill was adjusted to 0. Now, my question to you guys is, don't we do it in arrears? In other words, if they've used the sewer system for last year, which the meters would have captured whether there was 1 or 2 there, why would we adjust the bill to 0 rather than the minimum?
I think the bill was adjusted to 0 for going forward. So from this point on, there's not going to be there's no meter associated with that property. So now, in the way it was explained to me from the tax collector, if there was an associated account with that, every year they would still get a minimum use bill.
Right.
Until that meter was removed, which I guess the meter was just recently removed on it. So now going forward, they would never get a sewer use bill. See, if there's a meter associated with the property, regardless if it's active or not, they're still going to get a minimum use bill, because we have no way of knowing that the meter's been removed or not. Aquarian doesn't tell us this. So going forward, they zeroed out the account so that they don't receive a sewer use bill for next year.
Okay, so if they rebuild the house, which I assume they're gonna do on Fairfield Beach Road,
They did.
when they put a new meter in,
Yeah.
what does, and those folks start using that water and they start flushing their toilets,
No.
what does that, how do we get compensated for that
So
in
in
that
this
first year?
In this specific case, there were 2 meters associated with that property. There were two residences on that property. One of the meters is currently being used by the house that was rebuilt. The other house was demoed, and they've abolished that meter and disconnected it.
Okay, so you answered my question. My question was gonna be, is there a meter still running on that,
No.
the house that's in exist? No, there's not. But you
There's a
said one
meter.
meter.
There's 1 meter for that property now,
Okay, and
So-
we're charging for that particular
and we're
meter.
accounting for that 1 property. Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then the second one, which is more interesting because the woman who and this is now 1625 Fairfield Beach Road.
Yeah.
And it looks like when I read the letter that came back from Aquarian, although we said we took the meter out, Aquarian said there was only 1 meter there. The woman seems to have been confused, and the meter number and the reference number for the house were both used as numbers. She said she had 2 meters. Aquarian came back to us and said, no, there's only 1 meter, but we still zeroed out the bill. That one I didn't understand at all.
I don't have any history on this one. John, you might wanna.
So there's usually what they call a premise number.
Yes,
for the
yes,
account, right?
right,
So,
yes.
yeah, and there should be 2 separate, if there's 2 separate meters, there should be 2 separate premise numbers.
Right, but John, go back and read the Aquarian letter that
Mhm.
you've sent us in the documentation, and you reference and they reference, there's 1 meter on the property, and
There
the
is now.
other number was actually the residence number. When they sent that back to us, they
Yeah.
referenced 1 meter and one residence
Premise,
number,
number, yeah.
not 2 meters. So there's some confusion with the numbers, and then we just zeroed it out. Can you just check that out, please? Make sure we're doing something
Okay.
right on 1625.
Yeah, you got it. She's
Thank
in every day almost, so.
I know you have nothing else better to do, so
No, that's all right. It's part
thank
of-
you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody, for indulging me.
Good. Point 4, old business. We have none. We'll then segue to update on current projects. And as we do that, Bill, I'm going to ask you to introduce John. John and I and Joe had the opportunity to meet a few weeks ago, but I'm not sure the rest of the commission has.
Yes, so John Bodie has been my assistant for the last 6 years that I was there. And
He has a very nice office, by the way.
and
It's like an airport.
as I've alluded to anybody that's listened to me, is unequivocally qualified to assume the responsibilities of the superintendent. As I tell everyone, the only reason I look as good as I did was because of John. So he is very competent. Has been there.
Not getting on WebEx meetings though.
He struggled getting in tonight, but he's the backbone of that treatment plant. He's been there for almost 30 years. A resident of Fairfield through the school system, and I don't know when John left Fairfield, but he's knows everything in regards to the town and locations, and really is the historian of the sewage treatment system.
Now I really feel old.
No, you just happen to start at a very young age.
Yeah.
So
It's
with that
Bill's
said,
legacy.
with that said, I welcome John Bodie as your new superintendent. So, and I think you're in very, very good hands.
Your first class, Bill.
Thank you,
John,
Bill.
welcome.
I miss him already.
Yeah. No, we're all gonna miss him. You're a first-class individual.
I
Um,
missed last
you all.
meeting. Bill, where did you go?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I,
Never a dull moment.
they escorted me out of town, Matt. I took a job in Glens Falls, New York, as their water and sewer superintendent. I grew up in just outside of Glens Falls, so it's more of coming home for me. I was planning with my wife. We were at one point going to retire up in this area, so it was an opportunity that we decided we needed to take.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I told the Glens Falls people when I walked in, if it wasn't for Glens Falls and this position and this community, I would have never left Fairfield, because I do have a great respect for everybody. And this is one of the best boards I've ever worked with. And I tell everybody that asks, I believe that the staff at the Water Pollution Control Facility in Fairfield is probably the best in the state. They do so much work that nobody gets to see and nobody hears about it. And I've always told John, you know, if we can keep everything within the fence line, we can just about run it as well as we can and not have any interference. So that's the way we were able to accomplish a lot of things that we've done. We've got, you know, operators that are electrician and an operator that's a plumber. You know, you don't have that through most facilities. So we're very, very lucky in that regard. And you have everybody at the treatment plant is certified at some level, and you have an extremely good staff there.
So help the commission understand, you know, there's a number of projects that are both in the works, you know, like the Easton Pump Station and on the board. And who's going to run point on those, and have those conversations taken place? Who's going to provide updates and so forth?
Yes, we had a meeting last week before I left with John Marsilio, John, and John Cattell, who's the Assistant Superintendent of Public Works, and went over all of these projects. John has been brought up to speed. I don't think you really miss a beat, because John was involved in all of them, including the hardening, Eastern Turnpike, critically involved in the facilities plan. So he's well aware of everything that's going on and well versed in everything, just to have a seamless transition and be able to pick up on all of these issues.
It's a trio of Johns.
Yeah, that's why I had to leave.
It's going to be a little tricky. Okay. All right. Well, why don't we segue into the projects, and we'll see where we are.
Okay, so I guess I'll go. I guess, the status update on a WPCA plant hardening project. For that, the road improvements are complete. The road has been paved with binder course, and the final pavement will be completed by the end of this week. So that's a
Yeah, it's starting tonight.
Is it?
Starting the paving tonight.
Yeah. So yep. So by Friday, it should yeah. So we're right on schedule. Thanks, John. And the status update for the Eastern Turnpike Pump Station project, John, buddy, you could, if you have any way you want to give some input, but the electrical is being installed. UI will generate the power to the building as of today. They generated power to that building as of today. So, right. Yeah, Dennis DeBert and Bill, we had to put a little fire underneath their behinds to get that going, but it's going. The pump station should be online the first week in November.
Well, they're still waiting on a few electrical boxes to get put in. Yeah. Next Tuesday, the 26th, they're going to do some more stuff there, which Dennis will be there. I'll be there. And hopefully by November 1st, they're going to start the pumps. But then I heard the VFDs are going to be a couple days after that. So hopefully by the end of the first week of November.
Okay. And just if I may, what about the gas to install the new service, John? Have you heard anything about that?
No.
We're still waiting on that, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Everything has to be done on site before the gas company will come back and run the gas to the generator.
Right.
Which means that the existing generator has to be moved. The site improvements have to be done. There's probably going to have to be a temporary generator brought in for to power the existing and the new. That's something that the contractor knows about.
They want the existing building, the pump station down as well before they would run the line.
So that's kind of moving along.
Well, while we're on that part of town, have we heard when Sacred Heart might be back in with their revised development plan?
No, we reached out to them, and their response was that from their engineer that they have not heard back from them. So, no news is good news in my opinion, but they keep dragging this out. This has been 3 months now that they've requested to come and then not come. So.
I invited them to this meeting tonight, and they just said not this.
Haven't heard.
Okay, so we'll get that hooked up, turned on, and send them a bill for the $500,000 or so that's still outstanding, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So next is the update for the Eastern Turnpike Force Main project. That's complete. So you guys know that, right, John? And okay, and the update for the East Trunk Interceptor sewer relocation tie-in bond is going to perform borings the first week in November. So that's probably 2 weeks away. They're going to do some borings over there.
Will they be doing soil testing as well?
They probably usually do, right, Chris?
Yeah, that's the whole point of this project, is to do the environmental testing. They originally did borings on this to determine where there was rock and water, but they never did any environmental testing. For what reason, I don't know, but it wasn't part of their scope, Cardinals, when they did it. So now Time Bond has been hired to come in and do environmental testing. So we should have the results by probably the December meeting.
There's some $17,000 potential bill from Tie and Bond that Bill Hurley sent me that we're supposedly going to talk about on Friday.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's probably pertaining to this, unless it's got a specific location. I can take a look at it.
This is additional borings or something. So
that's for this, I think. Yep.
I can find out and let you guys know. I'll talk to Bill tomorrow. Good. So the East Trunk, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Chris, I'm sorry, John, one of the Johns, anybody. Does that have to get approved by us before they will start the borings? The 17,000? They're not waiting on the commission, right?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think so, Joe.
Okay.
They already have $28,000 approval, so they can start and get to wherever they want. I don't know what that $17,000 is. If it's for additional stuff. I know we were talking about doing some underground sonar stuff, but I think we straightened that out on the phone. But I think they'll have to check into what that additional $17,000 is, unless it's part of the 28. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll find out. Next is the East Trunk Wetlands Crossing from the Metro Center to Kenwood. Engineer and Geotech have determined that 2 additional borings will be needed to be done. They're putting together a cost estimate for additional work as we speak. And as soon as they get that estimate, I'll give it to you guys.
I'll just add a footnote to that. It's my understanding that that project has been sold. So I would expect that a different permutation of the development of that site will come back to us probably sometime next year.
Yeah. Next is the update for Riverside Drive siphon replacement. There's no current update on that. Tig and Bond has revised construction estimate to reflect and review comments. So there's not really any current update. I don't have anything for that right now. The WPCA outfall repair project right now is being reevaluated for that, the outfall repair. So we're reevaluating that. The microgrid status. Project is to start, well, it started October 18th. So Yankee Electric and Schneider on-site planning to remobilizing to restart that job. So they started it 2 days ago, I suppose. So the site excavation work is in progress for microgrid, for the switchgear and the wire duct banks. And the wastewater treatment plant funding is needed for the engineering services and design. So anybody wants to elaborate on that? John or Bill? Go ahead, Joe.
I think we need to put that on our next agenda then, John.
Yeah.
Will they have the required request?
Yeah.
And
And
the amount?
maybe John Bodie, if you could just keep an eye on that so we could get it back to the commission. You know.
Yep.
Thanks, buddy. Oh, Carriage Drive sewer extension. The town engineering department is reviewing the specs now and the plans and writing RFP for bid. So it's about to go out into the bidding process, I suppose.
There's actually a meeting Friday on this with the engineer, Chris DeAngelis, and Tim Warren is as well. Tim reached out to me today. He wanted to make sure he wasn't on the agenda, so he's being proactive. But we do have a meeting on Friday. John Bodie, John Clancy, Bill Hurley, and his staff, I believe, who have reviewed it. If I'm available, I'll sit in on as well. But there is a meeting, to review with the findings. Bill Hurley went over very quickly with John and I, John Clancy. He's got a couple questions or comments that he wants to bring up to the engineer. So that's the reason for the meeting.
Okay, and the update on a wastewater treatment plant generator, the work is completed, right, for the generator? No, John? Oh.
No. If the generator's there, it looks good, but it's not hooked up electrically.
It's a big difference.
There's been a meeting, and I was part of that with Laura Pulley, the engineer, and the contractor regarding some conduits that have to be pulled that no one foresaw. So there was like a $45,000 change order to do this work. When I was there, I told Laura that I don't think the town should pay that. It was either a mistake by the engineer or a mistake by the contractor. They were all through the facility when they did the design. They were all through the facility when they were doing the bidding. So before I left, we were trying to get this taken care of. Maybe everybody take a small bite of the apple and get this project complete, because we have a lovely brand new generator sitting there that starts up and runs but doesn't power anything.
And Bill or John, what is the issue that it's not working yet? What could possibly happen as a exposure to us?
Right now, we really don't have any exposure because the existing generator is running. It's been a good generator. It's run very well. That's not to say tomorrow it doesn't run and then everybody looks like a dummy because we have a brand new generator sitting there that can't power anything.
John B or John C. That's what we say from now on, so we know which John I'm talking to.
Oh, good.
I'd rather not say that the generator is complete until we've run some, we lose power and it fires up by itself. I mean, I know you've done that, but I know when I did the Coca-Cola production facility, we had a generator that every Monday morning, this thing would kick off and run by itself and like we lost power. So that's the only concern I have is you put a generator in and the first time you lose power, does it click on? So I'd like that to be part of the closure of the project to say, yep, it's been tested as far as we shut the power off and everything kicked on.
Yeah, 100%. 100% that'll be done. It's just getting the wires from the generator into the building now. That's the
I
biggest
got
problem.
it. Got it. No, I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'm not being negative. I just want to make sure that we don't get embarrassed. We meaning the
Agreed.
equipment, not you personally. Okay, that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, the Thorpe Street sewer relocation project, the contractor is going to relocate the sewer on property and run a CCTV line through the wetlands. So,
Do we have any sense as to when that is? It's been hanging out there for a while.
I don't know. Have you heard anything, Chris, by any chance?
No, nothing.
Okay.
No.
This was almost like a hurry up and wait project.
Almost.
Yeah.
We had a special meeting on this.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I have no update on the Upper East Trump Sector sewer relocation. So we know that. And the pipe size reduction in Stratfield Road from Woodfield Village to Owen Fish Park, I don't have an update on that as of yet. And, that's all I got, unless anybody wants to add anything. Chris, do you have anything?
Nope. I think that's it.
John Bodie, Bill?
Just on the John Clancy, on the I&I, when you speak to Ray Pierce about the I&I situation in downtown Fairfield,
Yeah.
you could line them up for either November, December, January to give the commission a update on the I&I work that has been done.
Okay.
I would appreciate it. We raise an awful lot of money in fees on that, and I personally would like to be a bit more up to date on the work that's been done.
Okay, so you want to see where they stand now on the work, their status?
Yeah, general overview of what's been done and what still needs to be done. And if we have any sense of how much, I don't know if they can measure it or if it's a guesstimate of I&I that we've taken out of the system.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Anyone else? No. Okay. Status update on sewer bypasses.
There hasn't been any. Thank God the hurricanes and the tropical storms have stopped for now.
That's a solid update. Okay. Any comments, questions before we adjourn?
Hey, Joe. Or rather, John B. Are you
Yes.
noticing anything down at the plant with all these Fairfield youth students that have come back and drinking and peeing on bushes and stuff like that?
Not as of late, no.
Honest to God, I went down there last weekend and it was a whole bunch of drunkard kids.
I will say that I was down there, Ron, and I was not intoxicated. My niece is a senior. Yeah. I said it before. I'm going to say it one last time before we adjourn. Chris and Bill, I know that you're kind of joining us tonight as kind of on a volunteer basis. It really means a great deal to me and the rest of the commission, going above and beyond. Hopefully someday we can thank you in a face-to-face setting.
It's been my pleasure. Like
We're
I
here
said,
to
over
help.
the last 6 years working with you guys. So
Yeah.
Maybe we could buy Chris a new car.
Right. Exactly.
John Clancy, John Bodie, nice work.
Yeah.
We
Good
appreciate
job,
it.
guys. Yes.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure working with you guys.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Second by Ron's hand first. All in favor? Great.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank
right.
you.
Everybody.
Happy Halloween.
All right.
anybody's up in Lake George, come look me up.
Right.
It's a good place to be, Bill.
Will do.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good seeing you, Bill. Take care.
I'm actually at my friend's
Thanks,
house
Bill.
right on the lake right now. So.
Oh, it's good living. Go enjoy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Take care, Bill.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Right.